Hello. So, this is me, and this is what I look like in real life, in case anyone's ever been curious about that. Um, Anywho's, with that out of the way, I think the easiest way for me to get started with this video will be to give a kind of preamble, just explain why it is I think about this, like what led up to it. In my early life, like in my childhood, um, well, there's really no sense in sugarcoating it. I was just kind of a loser. I definitely didn't feel like I had many friends or even really many acquaintances. I was very like on the outskirts in most every social situation. I was, like the weird kid, the nerdy kid, what have you, and not in the glamorous way that you see that presented often. It actually like really sucked for me. Um, and it's only really in like recent years, like in the last maybe 2 years, that I've really felt a sense of community in my life, that I have felt reached out to, that I have felt loved, um, that like other people have really gone out of their way to interact with me. And that may be like a small thing, something that a lot of people are um, free to take for granted, but I find that there's really nothing like missing something for so long that can make you grateful for when you finally have it. And so that's very much so the case for me. And because of that, and I suppose also because I'm a sentimental person in most regards, pretty much all of the connections I have are very important to me. Um, like even if it's just an acquaintance or like a small thing, somebody whom I see regularly but whom I'm not really like friends with, they're important to me just the same. Well, important to me just the same. Obviously, not important in the same way as my family or friends, but you guys get it. Um, so that's something I find myself thinking about often. Um, and I found that this isn't a topic I've seen really anyone talk about, like in particular. Um, I'm sure there is some video out there that's similar to this one in concept, but I haven't seen it. Um, so I just wanted to make a video about, and I assume this will be the title of the video, about the miscellaneous people in my life. Like I was saying, people whom I see regularly, but who aren't necessarily like a part of my inner circle. I just wanted to make a video just kind of rambling about that. Over the summer, I was a very active volunteer at a local food pantry, 2 days a week, about 4 or 5 hours a day. And it was a majority Hispanic client base. So the bulk of my job there was Spanish translation, be that like telling all the customers about whatever new policy or helping people get signed in, or and this was most of my job actually, was just walking around with one customer, one family at a time, helping them get their food, telling them how much of each thing they can take, getting stuff off the shelves for them, pushing their cart around, taking their food to their car. Which, as you might be able to imagine by that description, that always took a while, like 20 to 30 minutes per person. And that gave me a lot of downtime just to talk to people. Of course, when I first came there, as you may expect, nobody knew who I was because I had never been there. Be that the people who worked there or the fellow volunteers or the client base. And I noticed this as it was happening the following weeks and months, that I would continue coming in, like everybody would start recognizing me, even just the people coming by to get their food, they would see me, and they would smile and wave, and we would get to have a little chat. And I don't know, I guess it sounds silly, but I really do appreciate that, um, whenever it happens. Um, I remember once I came down to the front desk when I had first gotten there, just to say hi to the lady that worked there, whose job it was to like get everybody signed in. And there was a woman. She was speaking Spanish, and she was like clearly having some trouble communicating something to the lady at the front desk. Like she looked quite stressed. Um, and I just came down there and like peeked my head through the door, just being like hi. And the woman, she saw me, and just like an immediate wave of relief washed over her face. And she just went straight into speaking Spanish with me in the hopes that I could relay everything. Um, and I didn't recognize her off the top of my head. I feel a little guilty saying it, but like clearly she knew me. And like I, I don't know, just the fact that she like was immediately recognized me as somebody who would be able to help, and just immediately started speaking Spanish with me, so I could relay everything. Just like the trust in that moment meant a lot to me. Like that really warmed my heart. That really made my day. And I was very easily able to help her if anybody is worried about that. It's just like, in the interest of privacy, I'm not really giving any specific details. Pardon my computer's fan, but in particular, I remember regulars, two people that would come in like once a week, give or take, um, who I came to be sort of friends with. There's one of them I remember at the very end of the first time I helped her out with like shopping and all. She she like looked at me and she was like, "Tiene comida para Poppy?" And I didn't hear at first. I was like, "Como?" And she was like, "Poppy." Um, and that was really cute. And we did have puppy food, so I was in fact able to keep her dog fed for the week. Um, so she would come in about once a week, and it does make the story a little more difficult to tell, not giving any specific details, but it is of course worth it, um, in the interest of everyone's privacy and all. But yeah, she would come in once a week. She would just tell me about her job, tell me if anything interesting had happened. She would always show me photos of her dog, which I would return with photos of my cats. Um, I would I would tell her like some random story from school. Of course, it was over the summer, so I was like drawing on my memories. Um, I remember one day the woman that was in charge of like calling out the numbers, because everyone they get signed in, and then they take a little card with a number on it, and once that number is called, they come back to the food pantry to do their shopping. So the woman in charge of calling the numbers, she called the next number up, and again, it's like difficult to tell the story not using names at all. But the person in question who we're talking about, she walked out, and she saw me, and she was like, "Oh, it is tú." Um, and we both came over and gave each other a hug. And the woman who was calling the number, she was like, "Oh, you guys know each other," and she was like, "Sí, es mi amigo," and that was really sweet. So there was her, the other woman. She would come in once or twice a week, more towards twice, um, and she like I saw her, I met her the first time I was there, and I could immediately tell that she had like been a regular for a while. She was on like a first name basis with all of the employees. She like knew where everything was, so she didn't really need help. But I had some downtime, so I just struck up a conversation with her anyway. I told her about how I was like a new volunteer. It was my first day and all, and she introduced herself, said that she came around all the time. And so like whenever I would see her, she would like tell me another story about her kids and like what they were up to. One of them was like around my age. Um, she would tell me about like I remember when she was having car trouble and she showed me a bunch of pictures of her car and told me like the whole story of like having to go and get it repaired. The people there tried to scam her, but she caught on to it. Um, and I would return the favor. I remember bragging to her about my grades by the end of my junior year because I got all A's. Um, and I still remember every time it came time for her to leave, we would give each other a hug, and she would say, "Siempre sigue estudiando y siga ayudando a la gente. Sabe que lo apreciamos mucho." And I would tell her, "Claro que sí." Um, so as silly as it sounds, in a way, I really did love both of them. Um, I also had a very close relationship, I'd like to say, with the employees there. Um, Whenever they saw me, there was always that mood of like, oh, thank God you're here, because I would always do like the heavy lifting. I was in charge of getting everything off and on the shelves. I would always stay after for like for like an hour after closing just to help clean up. Um, so I really did feel I had a strong community at the food pantry, and um, I loved the people there, and I felt love in return. And I really don't think I can ask anything more out of life in general, even. I was I was over that same summer, excuse me, a volunteer at a local medical center, um, also for 2 days a week, separate days of the week, for 9 hours a day each. Um, and there, my whole job was just Spanish translation. I didn't do any of the like lifting things off of shelves or anything, which was like 30% of my job at the food pantry. But I was like explicitly just I'm a Spanish translator. That's what I'm doing. Um, Sometimes I would see people that I recognize from the food pantry at the medical center or vice versa. Um, I remember once a woman saw me and I came over to say hi, and she was so happy about that. She was like, "Oh, ayer te vimos allá y hoy te vemos aquí," and I was like, "Sí, qué divertido." Um, I specifically translated for OBGYN appointments, and it was like through the course of the summer, so I actually um, saw people that came back week by week long enough to see the birth of their child and to meet the little newborns, which I don't think there's really any experience better than that until I have kids of my own. Um, in particular, there was a couple who like, again, not getting into anything, but I would often like stay extra with them, help them out with some more stuff, like talk to the front desk with them after the appointments. They were both incredibly grateful to me. Um, like they really did express their gratitude a lot. I knew that they loved me. Um, and I still remember the day that they brought in their newborn baby and I got to meet them. They told me his name. Um, and that was just an amazing day. Um, it's the same feeling at the medical center as it was at the food pantry of like the way people would start to recognize me and they would come up to say hi and we would get to have a little conversation. It's like I've been saying, I know it's like a small thing and all, but um, I am incredibly grateful for it. I think my time at the food pantry and my time at the medical center were some of the most productive and most important, what's the right word? The moments in my life that helped me grow the most. There's definitely a specific word for that that's right on the tip of my tongue, but whatever, I guess. Um, so I guess that's kind of the summer saga. Those are two big things I got up to. I also had a job, but nobody cares about that. Um, I actually did really like my manager at my job, though. He had a really nice, a really succinct way of running things. He assigned everybody to the exact right task according to our abilities. Um, he was like he had a very close relationship with the employees. I am grateful for him, and I'm on a leave of absence from my job for the school year because I am incredibly busy and cannot sustain a job, unfortunately. Um, he is one of the few people from there I actually do miss, along with some of my coworkers. I did have cool coworkers, but yeah, that was the summer for me. So on to the school year, and for the purposes of sort of streamlining things, I will stick to this school year. I became a TA for my science teacher this year, the physics/biology teacher specifically. Um, so I have to oversee and help out with her freshman eighth block class. So it's a bunch of freshman kids in honors biology. Um, the other day, I dozed off in class whilst sitting in the teacher's chair as she was giving the notes for the day. And the notes took forever, so I got to take like a 15 or 20 minute nap. Um, I only even woke up because the girl like right in front of me dropped her huge metal water bottle on the ground, and I like jolted awake. Um, and coincidentally, by then the notes were almost done, so it was about time for me to pass out the assignment, which uh, tends to be like one of the things I do. As I was passing out the assignment, one of the kids is like, "Hey, do you want to see this sketch I drew of you while you were sleeping?" And he turns his page around, um, and it's just like a little stick figure of me on the chair. Um, that was so funny. That was so sweet. Um, Today I went around. I asked all of them one by one. I was like, "Hey, can you tell me two of your favorite candies in no particular order?" Um, and I like was trying to see which ones had the most repeats. It ended up being Sour Patch Kids and Twix. So I'm planning on buying all of them candy and um, giving a little prize incentive for whatever the next like class like group activity we do is. Be that a Kahoot or a quiz or a test. Um, I think that'll be a lot of fun. Um, I found that a lot of like important people in my life are teachers. I have like several teachers whom I don't even have like a class with them this year, but I'll still just stop by and just kind of say hi and chat with them for a bit. Like my art teacher, I really love my art teacher, so I'd love to stay in her class like during lunch. Um, Obviously, my physics teacher, I don't actually have her for a class this year, but I've still decided to be her TA. Um, One day, this has actually happened 2 days, but I'm just going to focus on the one. She had to leave the building very suddenly. She just had to head out of there immediately. And the thing is, she's the only physics teacher in the building, so none of the other teachers actually know the material. Um, and she had a whole lesson planned for the day because she wasn't expecting to have to leave. Um, so she actually left it up to me to teach the class that day. I took over as teacher for the physics class. I taught them about circular motion. Um, I started out by saying to everyone, I was like, "Hey guys, like I know this doesn't seem like a very serious situation, but like I'm taking this seriously. I want to teach you guys. I'm just going to play it straight, and we're going to do the lesson for the day. I'm going to give you your assignment." Obviously, I couldn't expect it of that class that that all of them or even the majority would take me very seriously at all, but a good number of them did and actually paid attention. Um, Cat's trying to get out the room in the other room. Anywho, where was I? But a good number of them did take me seriously. They all asked me questions that I was actually able to answer. I'm quite proud of myself. At one point, I actually told a disruptive kid to move seats. Um, I really did feel like a teacher. Um, Afterwards, they all told me like I did a really good job explaining all the concepts, and they really felt like they understood it. It took me forever. I spent like an hour on what should have been 20 minutes worth of notes. But it was my first time being a teacher. Can't expect everything to go smoothly. Um, I've been thinking a lot lately. I think I might actually want to be a teacher, but like, I need money is the issue. That's the only thing holding me back. Otherwise, I would just 100% be pursuing that. Um, oh yeah, there's a girl in my grade who I sat next to her 2 years ago in our history class. So we know each other, but we don't like know each other. We have like a little inside joke every time we see each other in the hallways. We just both kind of give each other the stink eye. Um, just like make a little disgusted face at each other. Um, and that's fun. Like even though like I don't really even talk to her regularly, like don't have her contact information or anything like that. Like we still just both have that little joke, and like I've been repeating, this is like the motif of the video. I know it's a small thing, but nonetheless, it's very special to me. Um, I hope all the people I have talked about can say the same about me. I hope I am special to them as well in some way. Um, well, I think that's everything right, like off the top of my head. Obviously, I could go on for hours and hours about like every little thing, every interaction I have, every person I've interacted with more than once. Um, I could go on and on, but I think I have gotten my point across well enough, and I'm about happy with the video as is. I would normally at this point take the time to kind of restate my thesis, but I think I've kind of been repeating myself all video, so I think you guys are good, and I'm good too, so goodbye.